All right, rookies. We are going to be talking about our locked in trades for round 8 and kind of a quick tutorial about how to do some swings to make sure you've got a bit of a safety net with Sweet, which is highly recommended. I can't suggest doing this any more than anything that I could possibly say. I don't know much about Supercoach, but I know you have to do this if you can, which is saying something. So, first and foremost, we're going to lock in our indefinite trades for this week. Now, I'm going to optimize my team. Now we can see we've got a decent projected score. Nothing great, nothing crazy. Definitely not bad. But we want Sweet and we want Rogers. So how are we going to do that? Now, first and foremost, we're going to trade out Power. Whether Phillips is named or not, I think I'm going to commit to the trade out just because I need the cash in the bank. So we're going to look at trading out Power and bringing in Sweet. Now, how do we bring in Sweet from here? Well, if you've got like a Livingston or Farley, I think his name is, or Faley, from North, we can swing Livingston into the forward and then bring in Sweet, which gives us some good cash in the bank. And then basically from here, we're like, okay, cool. We've got Sweet there. We've got Livingston in our forward line now. How do we get Rogers in? That's easy. We're going to look at trading out Draper, though. He's made us a little bit of cash, not too much, especially when we bring in someone at 150. So we're only gaining maybe 30K, if that. But Draper's injured. He's pretty much averaging his break even, so he's not really going to make us that much more cash. Cool. So what do we do from here to make that happen? Well, we swing in Sexton because we want people on field that are going to give us points like Colossi and Graham. So Sexton is bang, straight up into the back line, which is the benefit of having that DPP swing. And then this means that we can swing Garcia down and bring in Rogers, which is great. So we're going to bring in Rogers here. We're going to complete that trade. Now, these trades are locked in. These are not changing. I'm committed to the Power trade out, even if Phillips is not named. That's fine. I think I need to see more from him. We're just going to take the cash and run, basically. But this means we need to field Biggie or Garcia instead of Livingston. Now, we would try to loop this, but they're playing against each other, North and St Kilda, so that really diminishes our chances of doing that. So we're going to field Biggie. We're going to back him in like we did last week, even if it is for an extra 10 points-ish. We're going to emergency Sweet for our second trade. For our final trade is very dependent on Sweet, but we're going to emergency Sweet. That's very important to the strategy. And we're going to emergency Rogers. Backline doesn't have any emergencies because no one else is going to be playing. If Sexton is named, we'll chuck him on an emergency. But that's good to know. He may be named. We'll see. But those are our two locked-in trades using some DPP swing and advantages. And then basically, our final boost trade is very dependent on how Sweet plays tonight. If Sweet goes 85 plus, we're dropping Grundy. Grundy is getting traded out regardless. That's confirmed. It's just what we do with that money and where we upgrade the next person. So if Sweet plays really well, goes above 85, we're pretty much locking him into R2 for his cash generation and points on field. Now, he's got Big O tonight, which means we're going to be able to really see where he's at skill-wise. If he goes poorly, we'll have a situation for that. But for the instance that Sweet goes well, Grundy gets pretty much traded into Martin. Now, we were thinking about going Whitfield, but I think the flexibility of Martin and how he's playing, especially with his run coming up too, it just makes more sense. I think I was only locked in the Whitfield for the extra cash, the extra 30, 40K we'd have in the bank, which would help us lock in our two upgrades next week. But we can boost next week if need to bring in Ryan and Stewart. So there's a bit of weight there that really pushes me towards Martin, which we're going to lock in. Sorry, Whitfield, you don't do as much contested stuff as Stewart. I see Stewart and Whitfield in the same tier. I see Martin possibly higher than Stewart and Whitfield, and Ryan is above Martin. So Ryan's an indefinite next week. It's just whether we can make it work to get Stewart in. But regardless of that, we're going to bring in Martin. So how do we bring in Martin? Well, we grab Livingston and we'd swing him back into the R2 position. Now, this means that because he won't play, we'll get Sweets on score on field. If he goes 85 plus, that's our plan. Then all we're doing is swinging Sexton back into the forward line. So we lose our emergency, then we bring in Martin, and then we just complete the trade. Done. And then that means we bring in Martin on field for Howes. Howes could very much potentially go bigger than Colossi, but he's got Geelong. I think he's not going to have a great game. I think Suns have got Brisbane. I think Colossi might just have a better game, so I'm going to back him in. But we're going to put the emergency on Howes anyway. And this is what we're looking like. So this is the situation where Sweet does very well tonight and gets above 85 points. This is my ideal situation because this means we still get, an extra 12,000 in our bank compared to the situation 2 for our upgrades next week. Now, this is what I'm ideally wanting. This means that we can pretty much go at least Ryan from Roberts or Colossi up next week, which is ideal. That's what we want. We can at least do that, which then means we've got one spot to fill on defense, one spot to fill in mid, a ruck spot to fill eventually when Sweet is replaced by Soto again, or might hold his spot. And then we've got our forward line to worry about, our messy, disgusting, lackluster forward line. This is, again, the situation I want. Now, the situation where Sweet does sub 85, we don't do this. So in the situation, we're just going to play a bit of reversal. So we're pretty much going to swing Sexton back, which will then be replaced by Howes. And then we're going to swing Livingston back into forward, and we're going to bring in English instead of Grundy. So we complete that. Done. Give our team a quick optimize. Is what we're looking like. So in the instance where Sweet does poorly, we're going, okay, cool. No worries. We're just going to go get English. I don't think Grundy is a contender for the R3 position. Like, he's not going to be in the top 3. I think he's too inconsistent. He gives away way too many frees. He could totally switch it around and go off this week, which would be really bittersweet if he outperformed English. I don't think he is. I think English is just in another world of his own. But this finishes our ruck line. So either way, we've got really, really good options depending on how Sweet plays. So in this instance where Sweet plays sub 85, we go, cool, we're still trading Grundy because we're going to go up to English. Now, you could argue I could wait till next week to get English, which that's totally right. But the price difference could be greater than what it is now. I don't think English is going to get any lower than 591. I also don't think Grundy is going to go much higher than his current price of like 554-ish. And I think, so Grundy's break even is like 76, 79. There are all chances that he doesn't make that or just makes it. But there's also chances he doubles it. There is, but that's the thing with Grundy is you never know what you're going to get. Whereas with English, bar his 54 game that he had, like, he's been playing so fucking well. Like, he hasn't gone below 110. Like, you're paying for that consistency. Even in games where he's sharing ruck with Darcy and whatnot, like, he's just an absolute fucking weapon. So, with English at his lowest price point, worst case scenario, if we can't get Martin in and can't get a bit of cash back into our bank from Sweet being really well, we got English. We say, sure, Sweet, you could probably pop off like, a ton every now and then. But compared to Gordon and English, we're just going to use him for his cash gen. That's that. And we can wear that. I'd happily wear that, lock in our rucks. And then next week, we can still get Ryan in at least. Ryan or Stewart. Now, if Ryan goes poor and his break even goes higher, we hold off. If Stewart goes okay and still looks like worth breathing in, we bring in Stewart. We're getting one of those next week, regardless. It's just depending on, if we get Martin in this week, we can potentially bring him both next week. But there's adjustments. I'm not touching the forward line just yet. I want to wait till Heaney comes down. I don't really want to pull the trigger on Fife or Bodwell. If you haven't noticed already, we're almost 10 minutes in. I've got this new template for the video where we've got our trade targets for the team right below me. So Martin's obviously not in there because I'm pretty much banking on bringing him in this week. I'm back and Sweet to have a really good score so we can bring in Martin. And then we're just looking basically at filling our M8 position. So if we bring in Martin, as I mentioned, that could easily be him. If we want to leave Martin in our D5, D6 position, then we could potentially look at Track. Now, if Track does sub 100 again, I might fade him. Despite everything, I might fade him. And then we potentially could wait and focus on the forward line until Rao comes down. We could look at LDU. I think LDU is probably going to start turning it around. I think with all the shifts and everything that's happening at North, I think they're all going to be centering the plays and the other midfielders around LDU. I think he's found form. Let's just have a look at those players. So let's have a look-see just quickly. North Melbourne, 518, very cheap. These last few games. So he had a really good start, really average, but he hasn't gone below 87 since round 4, and he's only really gotten better. So he fell in form against Hawks, against Adelaide, 112, did really good. So I'd love to see LDU do really well this week as well, because his break even is 84. So he's likely not going any lower than 518, which means if we see a really big score from him against St Kilda, which St Kilda can give up a fair bit of points to their midfield. They're a bit weird. They're not great, especially if Steele's playing the way Steele's playing. Then LDU becomes a bit of a pod for our MA, and we can't just risk it, which is fine. I kind of, I'm not 100% set on Dawson. I traded him out, and I'm reluctant to trade him back in because I didn't trade him out because he was playing badly. He's always been a good player. It's just the role and that team set up at the moment. So, sorry, Dawson, I think I might fade you, but Dunkley's also an option as well. He's a bit of a pod. Dunkley has been playing, if not like one of the more consistent players in the midfield. Like he's averaging 110. He hasn't gone sub-ton. Like I wouldn't even count 98, 96 as sub-ton ideally. Like that's like he's gone nothing under like 110 basically. Like he's had 3 games where he's around the 100 mark, and then another 3 games where he's around 115 to 120. He's got like what 4% ownership, I think. I don't want to do that. Pretty sure he's got like 4% ownership. Yeah, 4% ownership. So he could be a little bit of a pod in the M8 position to help bring some big consistent scores. And now obviously Brisbane play really shit, then it could potentially be an issue. But food for thought. I'm sitting on it. We're not locking in an M8 this week, so I'm not worried about it. We still need Heaney. Fife, potentially, if he keeps the form. Moore is looking pretty good. If I'm not getting Heaney, the next target I'm probably looking at is Podwell from Essendon. Not to mention the run, but I think he's about to break out. He's been playing really, really well. Let's have a look at him just quickly. 496, definitely making his break even, so he's probably going to go up to about 515-ish. Has showed us a decent ceiling for a forward. Like he went 129. Obviously, he had a bit of a rough start first game, but he's just gotten better. Like you'd count these as tons, really. Like it's 1 point the difference. That's basically 2 tons and 83, and then another 2 tons. Like from a forward, like yeah, his CBAs might not be as high as we'd want them, but he's still managing that with the low CBAs. Like if we just have a look at DFS, let's just have a quick look at his CBAs. So if we go AFL, let's go CBAs. Go. Where's Essendon? So Codwell, 13. Like he's had really high CBAs over this, and then he had 25, and he still managed 100 against Collingwood. You know, these last couple of games, he still managed like 99. So let's just actually have a look at him, compare these stats just quickly, because this is what really helps you make or break a deal. So 3 and 4. So around 3 and 4, he had 46 CBAs and 9 CBAs. 0 CBAs. Where are we? Yeah, 9. I'm fucking blind. I'm wearing glasses. 9 CBAs against St Kilda. Still managed a 99. Had his CBAs up to 46 against Port. And still got 99. So that's consistent. That's good. Western Bulldogs, he was there for 61%. Pushed out an 83. Bulldogs are tough. Was there for 64% of Adelaide. Got his 129. And then, spent only 25% of CBAs and pushed out 100. I think that's just really good value. The lack of forward options that we have, I'm desperately looking to bring in some players. What's his ownership like? His ownership isn't high by any means. 1% of teams own him. Like that could help separate you from the pack. That's for sure. I'll be eyeing him off next week. or the week after, because I don't think he's only going to get better and more expensive. So I'd rather watch him this week against West Coast, which could be a potential buff up, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to ramble on for ages, but these are our trade plans. We've got 2 trade strategies going into this week, starting tonight, depending on how Sweet scores. If you are not doing this kind of like strategy of like having that little safety net of Sweet, and depending on how he plays, I think you're putting a lot at risk here. So I would recommend doing this or following this strategy to some degree, depending on Sweet score, just so you make sure you don't really mess up the rest of the season, especially if you're playing for rankings. So, with that said, guys, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate the subscribers, all the comments. If you don't subscribe, haven't been subscribed, don't follow me on Twitter/X or TikTok. Make sure you go jump on all the socials. It's the same handle as you see below, just Rookie Coach AFL. Love interacting with you all. If you have any questions, please ask. If you have any criticisms, go for your fucking life. It's my first year. I'm again live and die by the sword of the rookie choices, and we're going to see where we end up. Where, as I say, we've gone up to about just above 21. Yeah, we're just shy of the top 20k teams, the season rank. So we're hoping to either maintain this for now. I don't expect to go too high up if we get like a very similar score. But I'd love to see this number in green again. So that's going to be our aim. But let me know what your trades were locked in for this week. If you're doing a similar strategy and waiting on Sweet to either show us what he's got or if he's going to shit the bed. And with that said, guys, I will see you guys at our round 8 review.